again. Welcome back. My name is Drew, and this is Drew in 32. Ba-dum-bum-ba-bum. A soulful miniseries side quest. Yeah, I've been forgetting to do the official jingle ditty thing there, so I'm glad I got that back in. And in this episode, yeah, I'm feeling a little more hopeful, a little more fired up, excited, because we're going to talk about education and learning, which is, yeah, I love me some learning. It's kind of my thing. So we're talking about a topic that feels good. And really, I mean, education is like the foundation for a different tomorrow. That actually sounds like a really good bumper sticker. But it's true. You know, like if we do education in a cool way with some cool structure and some cool content, and we could flip the whole society in 20, 30, maybe 40 years, which might seem like a lot, but it's really only half of one person's lifetime, right? And it's only maybe 2 generations worth of folks coming through a new education system before, yeah, society would look totally different. Look and feel totally different. So, yeah, education is definitely the foundation for something new, something different. And, yeah, so we will get to what could be different, what could be cooler towards the end of the episode. Here in the beginning, I think I'll share a little bit about myself as a learning kind of guy. And, yeah, and then a little bit about the current system and its roots, right, and its purpose, because really modern education is more like indoctrination, and then you know, and then like predatory lending when it comes to school loans. So yeah, the current system is shit, you know, big surprise. In a corrupt society, the education system is also wonky. And so, yeah, we'll talk to a little bit of that, but then also how it can be different, how it can be cool. But first, a little bit about myself, because I think it's relevant. I think it's cool. Yeah, and like I said, learning is my jam. I have been an educator, like professionally, for almost 15 years. Yeah, I've been teaching college on and off for over 10 years now. And before that, for the first 4 years of my recovery, I was actually a substitute teacher. And if you want to learn some interesting lessons in the trenches, do some substitute teaching for a week or a day. Shit. Yeah, some really cool learning that happened there. For me, personally, professionally, early in my recovery process, working as a substitute teacher. And yeah, so 4 years of that. And then, like I said, a decade on and off teaching college. And yeah. And also I come from a family of educators, right? So my mom is an EDD. She went back to school and became a teacher about halfway through her life. My uncle, her older brother, he taught, I think, for like 20, 25 years, like the first part of his career. My sister is a phys ed teacher, and now she's starting to segue into more of the helping side, more of the counseling stuff, which is really cool to see. Yeah, so she's in there in the high schools. Her husband, my brother-in-law, is currently a vice principal, but he was a teacher and then an athletic director. And so essentially, yeah, 2 generations of my family have been in schools as professional educators. And so a lot of our chatting around the pool during the summer is about teaching related stuff and what's working and what isn't and what's new and what's cool. And so, yeah, I come from teachers and educators. I am naturally an educator, and really because I'm like a forever student. Yeah, I have an insatiable learning mode. And so I'm always looking for new stuff to input, like systems to kind of deconstruct, and new topics or subjects that resonate. I love to learn. I love to learn with great teachers. And then I also love to facilitate and lead learning, right, in the role of professor or teacher, and really in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom too. And how I have approached my clinical counseling career was very much through a learning lens, right? And even now, or especially now, I should say, my whole jam is helping folks learn about themselves, right? Like, I'm not diagnosing folks anymore. I'm not treating people. I'm not trying to fix anybody. I'm just helping people learn about themselves. And what I found is that, when we know better, we do better. And really a lot of the struggles that people have is because they don't understand themselves in certain ways or at certain depths. And so, inside the classroom, formally academic, but also outside the classroom, in clinical settings or just in life, right? Like on a journey of self-discovery. Yeah, man, learning's my jam. And so I have strong feelings about good learning and strong feelings about shit that passes or is called education but really isn't. And for me, most of the current education experience in the United States is shit, right? Like, a lot of the teachers who do it, gems, beautiful beings, right? People that obviously are not doing it for the money, right? But are doing it because it's a calling, because that's how they feel pulled to show up. And that's such a beautiful thing. Again, service oriented. And we're now starting to see over the last couple years the inclusion of social and emotional learning, right? Like, that's starting to become a little bit more widespread or a little bit more involved. But essentially the curriculum has been shit for a while. The structure has been shit for a while. And it might make sense that the education system sucks as far as actually performing its alleged duties of providing an education because of its roots. All right, so we'll flash back in history here briefly and just point to the fact that the modern education system was heavily influenced and even like funded by the Rockefellers and like the original robber barons, like the first thieves, right? And the vision really, at least partially, but probably mostly, with the education system was to create cogs that can fit into the system, right? Like, we're talking about a time in history or a time in American history when the factory, like industrial revolution was going on, right? So factories, you take raw product in and you turn it into some kind of thing you can sell, and and you need people who can do that. And so if you think about a school, it's kind of like a factory worker factory, right? Like, we take kids and we plug them into this system that gets them up way earlier than they should be for their development, for their psychological development, for their learning, like all that stuff. Like, we have through research, we know like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. is not when a 9-year-old should be learning math, right? Like, it's dumb. But the priority in the education system hasn't been the well-being of the student, right? It's been the end product of creating a factory worker or creating someone who you can just plug into the 9-to-5 grind, right? Like, system. And so, education isn't really supporting the growth of individual beings or helping people tune into themselves or, helping folks find and honor their passions and talents. It's much more about smashing you into the square peg so you can continue to fit into what society needs you to be so that folks can profit off of you. Right? So, yeah, I think if we take a step back and we look at the modern education system, yeah, it's a factory worker factory, right? Or it's a 9-to-5 grind factory. And so you plug in a kid and then, was it 12, 18 years later, it spits out something that can fit into the system and keep things going the way they're going and the profits flowing upward instead of to the people. And so if you look at it like that, it actually works really well, right? Like they just make us sit in chairs for 6 hours a day, which is insane to do that to a kid who's like raw energy, right? And then don't get me started on how they then justify medicating kids because they can't sit in chairs for 6 hours straight, right? Like that's, again, like fucking criminal. I mean, yeah. You take a 6, 7, 8-year-old and just stuff them in a seat all day, and then when they don't do what they're supposed to or move when the bell rings or, you know, listen to all the adults, then they get labels and pills that change their personality and fuck with their biochemistry before they're anywhere near puberty. Like, that's fucked. Like, that is not a system that cares about the well-being of its, you know, individuals. And yet, yeah, it's just like accepted. Like, oh yeah, I guess that's what it is. No, that's fucking bullshit. And it doesn't have to be what it is, right? Like we can approach education differently. We can structure it differently. We can do it at different times of the day, different settings. And we can also change the content too. And the content now, this is where the indoctrination word kind of comes in for me. Yeah, we just kind of teach the kids a certain amount of stuff, right? Like we don't provide like real life skills. Like I never knew about keeping a checkbook or, you know, like don't sign up for the free t-shirts when you go to college because they're giving you a credit card that will bankrupt you. Yeah, I mean like changing your oil, like basic life skills shit not taught in our education system, right? Which is crazy to think. But it's because we're being taught like a certain version of history and then also certain skills to help us fit into the society. And so again, if you're looking at the education system as it is from a certain perspective, it's actually really well done to create people with limited awareness, limited education, and already trained to work X amount of hours per week or per day, right? Like years of that. And so then when a person graduates high school, you're ready to just go right into the system that drains the shit out of you without even questioning it. And then if you want to do college, which that's been one of the great lies of the last 20, 30 years, is that everybody needs to go to college or should go to college. And you should mortgage your whole future to get student loans to pay for that 4-year degree, right? Like that, to me, that's predatory lending would be the term that comes to mind, right? Like, so we're going to smash you into a certain shape, regardless of your natural talents or abilities, so that you can fit into our society that doesn't give a shit about you. And then if you want even a little bit more education, well, now you have to go into debt for the next decade of your life, which means you still have to stay in the system, right? Like for student loans, the best thing available is if you work in certain jobs, then they give you, I think it's like after 10 years worth of payments, then they just clean your student loan debt, which is super cool. But you also just gave away 10 years of your life to this system that doesn't give a shit about you. So, I mean, like the best case scenario is still terrible, right? From like a sane perspective. But it's what we come to accept and expect. And so Yeah, the structure of modern education sucks. We shouldn't be getting up that early. We shouldn't be getting kids up that early, fighting with kids at fucking 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to get them to go to school. Like, come on, man. And then, like the expectations and the weight and the burden that's then placed upon the teachers to essentially raise kids in addition to teaching them content. That's pretty tremendous and out of whack. Right? Like, there's tons of kids who are spending more time with their teachers than they are with their parents. Right? And that's out of whack. And I'm not judging parents for that. The reality is that in our society, the parents are forced to work ridiculous hours to make the ever diminishing salary, to keep up with the ever increasing cost of living, right? To play the catch up game. And so like, do you want to eat? Okay, cool. I'll see you for 2 hours at the end of every day. Or we'll get in a fight for a half hour in the morning and then I'll see you for 3 hours after school. Maybe. And it's so fucked. Like, that's, yeah. It shouldn't have to be like that. And it doesn't have to be like that, right? It can be different. We can change things. And it can be done pretty, I don't know if it's easily, but simply. Yeah. And quickly. Or quicker than we might imagine. So, yeah, the structure sucks. The content sucks. The white people history bullshit is nuts, right? Like, I mean, when it comes to history, you're always just learning about what happened from the perspective of the guys who won, right? So if there's two folks that get in a fight and one started it and then, and one didn't, but the one that started it kills the one that didn't, well then, whoever's left alive can just tell whatever story they want, and so that's history. And so, like, I find history super interesting, but I also always take it with a grain of salt, right? Because there's agendas to how history is written. There is bias to history. And, and so now what we're seeing currently is in a lot of parts of the country, there's a whitewashing of American history. And, and so it's just fucking lies. Like, lies are being taught, but there's kids that are 8, 9, and 10 years old, or I guess you start learning social studies in middle school maybe, or history in middle school. Yeah, I think I learned about the Romans in like 6th grade. So anywho, in 5th, 6th, 7th grade is when, as a little being, you start being taught by the adults who allegedly know everything. They teach you what the world is and what happened, and so like there's a whole false fucking reality being taught as history that man, I mean, that's just not cool. And there's an agenda to how it's taught, because again, if it supports people just participating in the system status quo without questioning it, then the folks that are profiting off of the people, they're cool with it, right? They get to keep making millions and billions, and we keep getting squeezed. So, yeah. Content sucks. The structure sucks. Teachers are super cool, but what we're expecting from teachers is way too much. And also what we're expecting from teachers relative to what they're actually paid is fucking criminal. I mean, if it were up to me, I would take a 0 off of every like star athlete's salary, right? The guy's making millions and hundreds of millions. I would take zeros from like professional sports, and then also money from the billionaire knuckleheads, and then translate that immediately into adding zeros to teacher salaries. Like, currently, it's super attractive if you want to be a billionaire to go be a public official, right? Because you can accept all the bribes and all the campaign contributions, make a ton of money, right? So it attracts a certain quality of person. If we turn teachers into a $500,000 or $1 million position, and maybe not that much, but maybe a couple $100K, right? Or maybe we pay teachers what we currently pay our government officials. That would be a cool flop. Yeah. So imagine the starting teacher salary is like $300K. That would attract a lot of people, right? And then we could actually select the best candidates, right? Because if there's that much money available, then there'll be competition. And then we can have teachers that are worth a shit, that are awesome, that are compensated fairly, right? And then are showing up to, honor a calling and feel good about it because they also can't afford to go on vacations and don't have to work a second job over the summer. Yeah, I would love to vault the teaching profession where it belongs as far as compensation and also like status and respect. Because, yeah, man, a good teacher is a lifesaver, is a counselor, is a best friend, is an advisor, is a mentor, is a mother, is a father, all in one for dozens or hundreds of kids or thousands of kids over a career. And so somebody that can fill that many different slots in a cool way, yeah, they deserve the respect and the compensation. Yeah. And then also if we tweak the structuring of the education experience, right? Like maybe it doesn't have to happen at 7 a.m. in the morning or get started at 7 a.m. And maybe kids don't have to be in seats for 6 hours consecutively, right? Like if we take kids outside, if we go on more field experience type things, or, classrooms are more interactive and mobile. Yeah, that honors more the like pure energy that kids are. Yeah, that would be super cool. And I mean, really, the discussion to be had is to get a bunch of seasoned, experienced teachers and educators in a room and let them, without pressure from superintendents or pressure from standardized testing, right? Like without any of that bullshit, right? Just let real awesome teachers create what the education experience could be, should be, right? Like that's the way to do it. And so I have some ideas, but one of my ideas is to get a whole bunch of other people in the room that have more experience and more insight. Yeah, and I would say also, like, early in the education experience, the focus should be on basic human shit, like kindness, compassion, emotional intelligence, social emotional learning, logic. I forget where I saw it. Like logic used to be taught along with reading and writing and arithmetic, like the basics, And so I would bring that back, like teaching people how to think or how to think critically, because there's a whole lot of that missing in our society right now. But also the emotional education piece, right? Like teaching little beings about feelings and the nature of feelings and how they come and they go and how you deal with it and how you surf a big feeling. Or like all of that should be standard day one curriculum. Like nobody needs to hear about what some fucking white guy thought was cool to tell you about the Roman Empire before you learn about your basic human experience. Right? Like, like something's a little fucked there. So I would love an education experience, not even a system, but like an education experience where the first thing I'm learning about is myself and my body and my feelings and my thoughts and how they interact, and also like how to interact with others and communication and honesty, like basic, like really important skill sets that a lot of us don't get taught. And we have to learn in therapy like fucking 20, 30 years later. So we just teach that up front. And then you don't need to be a fucking nightmare for 20 years and then learn it in therapy in your 30s Yeah. Like, imagine if you learned how to just be honest and open about your emotional experience, and also other people learned and you learned how to hold space for the emotions of others without reacting or responding, right? Like, if you got taught that at 6 and 7 and 8, holy shit. Like, how much would life be different? How many less frogs would you have had to kiss or sleep with, right? Like, how many less headaches and heartaches would we go through if we were just taught some essential basic shit at an early age? And it's not like this is fucking rocket science. Like, this is basic stuff that makes pretty, like, good sense. Or, like, I feel like it would be common sense to teach this to the little beings so that it makes their experience easier. But again, the current education system is not really giving a shit about our well-being, right? Really, the current system, the larger societal system, it profits off of our ignorance. It profits off of our pain. So if we're kept uneducated or uninformed or misinformed or in the dark on a lot of stuff, then when we're doing dumb shit, it actually benefits, right, the system and the folks that, you know, have learned how to profit off of this kind of shit. So again, like, the system, the bigger framework of the system, it's definitely not broken. It works well. It's just corrupt as fuck. And if you want your people to be able to plug into a corrupt as fuck system and not question it, you can't give them a good education, right? Because anybody with like one eyeball open is going to see some shit quickly. And so maybe Trump and his knucklehead, whatever they're called, I'm trying to keep it open-hearted and not get vicious. But Trump and his fucking fools, right? Maybe they did us a favor in kiboshing the Department of Education, because now we'll have the opportunity to recreate it from a more solid foundation, a more awakened or enlightened foundation, if you will, right? Like, we could reapproach the way we structure schools, how we approach learning, what's important, right? We could reprioritize the content. Yeah, I mean, we could do anything. And we could do it informed by seasoned professionals. And I think it's both education professionals as well as like counseling and helping professionals as well. Because like I said before, if you can integrate some of the learning that happens in counseling settings into the base core education that we're giving beings, little beings on the planet, yeah, man, that changes the whole game for everybody. And then within 30, 40 years, right, within like 2 generations, we have 20 and 30-year-olds who are so personally, emotionally aware and present, right, and participating in life through a variety of new patterns that make sense to them because they weren't burdened with our bullshit and our lies. And then we get to participate in their society. Like, for me, I'm signing up for that shit. I'm 44. I'm totally cool if at 84, if I'm still in body, if I'm living in a society that's run by the second wave of 20-year-olds that have been raised in this new education system. That'd be cool as fuck. I bet you they come up with some awesome stuff I couldn't even think of on my best day. Yeah. So yeah, we got to revamp the education system, and that will then create the foundation for a different tomorrow, a different cultural experience that I feel like would be a lot cooler than the current bullshit we got going on. And I think also you have to make education a right. Right? Just like healthcare and the basic income, you got to give people education. A good, solid, whole person education that brings them through high school or to 18 or young adult or, whatever the new system sees as the way to do it. Yeah, you bring people to that part free, right? It's just a right. It's not even free, it's a right. It's, as a member of society, you have the right to this amount of education. And then I think you also give people access to the like bachelor's level kind of experience and training, or crafts school or trade school, right? If that's the way people want to go, because there's a million different types of intelligence, right? And so ideally we're allowing people to honor the intelligence that they have, whether it's of the mind or the heart or the hands or, whatever. Yeah, like a specialized training or education that takes place after the primary education, that should also be included. Right? Like we shouldn't be bankrupting people so that they can get an education that allows them, or training or certification that allows them to eat and have a job and be a part of society. Right? Like we should be setting people up to succeed in the society. So we have a society of successful people doing cool shit. And so I feel like, yeah, a primary education experience and then a more specific training education window, right? Like a bachelor's level degree or trade school, something like that. And then this was an idea that came through yesterday. Like if you want to do further education, right? Because like we need doctors and scientists and like folks that have a more intensive educational experience, right? Like the doctor level type thing. I think that is made available not through loans and money, but through service, right? And so if you want to be a psychologist or a helper with that advanced training, and maybe it's 4 more years or 2 more years, or I don't know, but past the initial like vocational specific training, if you want to go further and be a doctor or scientist, then if you get 4 years of education there, yeah, then you have to give 4 years of like service in the public sector to society, right? Like, so, hey, society's going to cover the bill for your advanced training to be a neurosurgeon. And you don't have to pay anything. What we're just asking is like the first 4 years of your career, you're going to work at the public hospital, right, that everybody has access to. And then after that, if you want to go, do private shit, go ahead, have fun. But essentially, like, we'll give you the training to do awesome shit if you have the aptitude and the skills for it. You just got to give back to society in equal measure before then you're free to, do whatever you want. And I feel like that's a cool trade. Yeah. Because like trading 10 years of your life to pay off a loan, doing a job that expects you to work crazy hours, like it's indentured servitude. Or, or maybe, you're able to pay your loan back sooner than that because somebody dies or you win the lottery. But like, fuck, man. Like, why are those the circumstances necessary for you to not be in debt for a decade or 2 of your life? Like, it's fucked. Education should be a right. Because if we want a healthy society, we want people who are informed and educated and well-rounded, right? Like, are good in a specific subject area, but are also good as a human being, as far as being aware of emotions and thoughts and, right, like understanding themselves. And so if we really want to create a society that's healthy and well and doing cool stuff, again, we have to invest in the people. And education, I think, like I said, I don't think it's free. I think it's a right. Right? We're not giving anybody anything for free here. We're giving people basic needs. Yeah. This makes me like a baby shows up on Earth. Like you didn't choose to be here. Your parents knock boots. They pump you out 9 months later. And, oh yeah, by the way, life's going to be real expensive real quick. All right. So you got to pay rent. You got to pay for food. And so by the time you get to early adulthood, you're already in fucking debt. You don't even know what debt is. I mean, that was the case for me. And I know so many kids or so many adults yeah, they were sold the false bill of goods, or like the lie, really, that if they did everything they were told, right, like they did well in high school and then they went to college and they got their college degree, and that would set them up for a job where they could buy a home and have a family, right? Like that was the promise, and that shit's been broken. There are so many folks in their late 20s and early 30s who have been scrambling for years even, right? Like before the pandemic. Because what they were promised, the contract, the social contract, it was broken again in this way. And so that's fucked, and shit needs to be different. And Drew in 32 is going to make it happen. I feel like I want to wrap up each of these episodes with, some kind of real presidential type flair and statement. But then I remember that I'm not actually running for president. I'm just hanging out and sharing a social commentary here. So, anywho, so education should be a basic right. It should be structured differently. Teachers should have more support and be paid more and have more compensation. And we should have cooler content that's more relevant to the experience of life and like living with each other. And and then you should get specific vocational flavored training once you're a little bit older, that then helps you honor your natural talents and gifts and aptitudes as far as what you want to do for work or what you want to do it yourself. And again, if we pair this with a basic income that starts at 18, you don't even need to do a job. You could just fuck off for a little while if you wanted, which is what most 18-year-olds do in college anyway, right? Or traveling. You just don't have to be in debt for the next 20 years because you wanted to be an idiot in college. Like, just be an idiot. It's part of the human experience. It's like being a bonehead for a while. But anywho, vocational training, that's a right. So then you're equipped and adept to be a member of society and contribute in a cool way. And that could be, doing a specific job that pays the bills, right? Or that could just be doing a job that interests you, or following art, or, like whatever it is that your heart wants from you. And then if you want the super advanced training, and we need folks that are going to go there, you just got to, pay that back to society and service before then you can, make some extra monies or whatever. So there you go. That's my plan for how to revamp the education system. Those are my thoughts on education. I feel like a really thorough revamp of the educational experience is the quickest way to flip the entire society. Like, there are some folks who are just kind of like they're spoiled already. Once you've been on the planet long enough, living life in a certain way. I'm not saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but 60 years, 50 years, 40 years of living in a particular way, there's just certain parts of our being that haven't been fed or watered for decades, and so the potential is just different. Whereas if we take the next generation of little nuggets and put them right into a system where we're watering and feeding all parts of their being, and then the parts that demonstrate strength and aptitude, right, then we really support that. Oh man, like that can blossom in such a really cool way for the individuals and the society as a whole. So that's all I have to say about that. I'll be done now. And speaking about watering and nurturing and all that jazz, in the next episode, I'm going to talk about our relationship with Earth, like the place that we live on, right? Because that's also fucked. Yeah, and our understanding of the relationship dynamic between ourselves and the planet is also super warped. And I think that Yeah, some tweaks there, some new ideas, some old ideas being worked back in, then shapes a different relationship to the planet, and yeah, and has some really cool possibilities come out of that as well. So stay tuned for the next episode, talking about our relationship with the planet and the environment. And yeah, until then, be gentle, be kind with yourself, and I will see you a little further down the campaign trail.